Hello, everyone. First and foremost, I just want to say congratulations to all the students, almost 80 of you, right? I've been so impressed by the depth and breadth of the work that's been presented thus far today. I'm truly amazed. You should all be very, very proud of yourselves. And today I have the honor of introducing my very first research assistant, Megan Cate, an undergraduate at the University of Michigan-Flint. So I actually met Megan my first semester here. I started here as an assistant professor 2 years ago, and I met Megan in my ecology class, and she was one of the standout stellar students of the course who could just sort of see how everything connected. And that's really at the sort of soul of ecology is connections, studying how different species interact with each other and with the environment. And I knew from the beginning, this is someone I want in my lab, and was thrilled when it ended up working out on my very first research project here. When I began, I really wanted to do something local in the community. It's really extremely important for me to do local research. I study native pollinators, and so a lot of my work goes into putting in plants or different treatment gardens in order to see how well we're serving pollinator conservation needs. So in my first winter, I was introduced to a community member. Her name's Megan Cate. She began the East Side Improvement Association, a neighborhood on the east side of Flint, and Megan had done just fixed up her porch a little bit in the front yard. And she realized that it got her neighbors out talking to her more. She was interacting with people on the street she'd never before spoken with. I was so excited to hear about her idea that she wanted to get a little bit more funding to help out some neighbors who also weren't able to do their own porch work, whether folks who are elderly or just sometimes, you know, it's cost expenses. What are we going to prioritize for funding? And a lot of times things like landscaping aren't really where you spend your money first. I think we can all identify with that. So in listening to hearing about this porch project, there's going to be these physical enhancements. I asked if she had any landscaping plans. Maybe marigolds, you know, it kind of depends what's left in the budget. And so I applied for a grant here at UM-Flint in order to do 2 different treatment gardens, which Megan designed. One using native plants and one using ornamental plants, and she'll show you the pictures. And the independent research question that she ended up asking within the scope of the project. Initially thought we were going to reach 10 houses on the east side. We planted 21 gardens last summer. We have 10 more we're doing in the next couple weeks. And the porch project in and of itself, I'm totally plugging the hashtag, or you can check out our website, theporchproject.org. We'll be reaching 100 different homes in Flint this year as it's expanded beyond the partnership with our lab. So Megan, without further ado, Megan is just about to start her final year here at UM-Flint, though a molecular major, and I don't hold that against her, in pre-PA concentration. I know she's going to be amazing in whatever she does next, but I'm so excited the very next thing is helping me out again this summer. So please, for Megan Cate, come on up.
All right, how is everybody? I'm gonna pull up my thing here real quick. All right, so as Dr. Tonietto introduced me, I'm Megan Cate. I am part of the Porch Project. This is my final year. I'm a molecular biology major, and I'm going to be a PA one day. So me meeting Dr. Tonietto, it was a huge deal for me. I idolized her, I'm not gonna lie. She asked me at the end of ecology if I wanted to be part of her group, and I was ecstatic, so I took her position. And this project is all about seeing how we can improve the east side of Flint, giving these homeowners a new outlook on their homes, giving them a new garden, new porches. Our aspect is obviously more towards the gardens, which is what I'll be starting off with. So our treatment A has to do with native Michigan flowers. So your echinacea, the coneflower on the left-hand side, all the way down to your creeping phlox. These are more so nursery items. I believe that you can find them in other department stores, but mainly in nurseries. During this time, Megan Cate, as Dr. Tonietto spoke before. She's our partner in the East Side Association, and she went around to her neighbors and basically asked them, you know, which treatment would you prefer? But she didn't say it in that way, of course. She asked, you know, which garden would you prefer? So over treatment A, the native, or maybe treatment B, the non-native or ornamental gardens. And she gave the neighbors their opportunity to pick, and they chose. And after they chose what they would like, we started implementing the design. So me and Dr. Tonietto and Megan Cate on the left-hand side there in the first picture, and some students here at the university went out and we started planting the gardens. At this time, it was really important for us to get to know the neighbors so that they could have trust in us and know that we were there to help them. We weren't there to do any wrong or anything like that. And they could trust us so that when we went out for our observations next, we could be there and they could trust that we're not gonna, you know, do anything wrong. So here's another picture of us implementing the design, and it was honestly, there wasn't a lot of major decisions made. We just thought, you know, this looks good here, this looks good here, that kind of thing. And it was just a lot of fun, just getting out in the community and meeting everybody and doing this. So after we were all done, the homes were actually supplied with mulch for water retention. They were also given a border and hoses and nozzles for them to be able to upkeep their gardens. At this time, we also educated the homeowners so that they knew like what they were in for. It was nothing too crazy. I mean, just your regular pruning maybe during winterizing you might need to cut these down. Nothing too serious. We didn't want to put on too much extra work for the homeowners so that they could feel good with what they got. So after we implemented our design and got down all the mulch, it was time to do observations. And there's two different ways we could have done it. We could have collected the bees and actually noted, okay, we had, you know, a bumblebee or whatever visiting this garden. We ended up doing the observation style, which is literally me, as you can see in these two pictures, standing there and just watching the flowers, watching the bees land, and every time the bee would land, that would consider one visit. If the bee left and then came back, that would be considered a new visit. And we would note that. We would take note of the bee species, the flower, what type of flower we had, if it was blooming or not. And I'm going to stress here whether or not the flower was in the shade or in the sun, because this turned out to be quite a prominent issue. A lot of the houses were in the shade due to these trees on the right-hand side in this picture. There were tons of tree coverage over the houses and over the road. Plus the house on the left, you can see where we implemented the garden on the left-hand side of the house, but that was the only place that we could put, and it's completely in the shade. So we had to pick flowers that were more so to grow in the shade for this house, but also we were wondering, are bees going to even come here? Is this an issue? Should we address this, or should we try and move it into the actual front yard? So my personal question was, are bees going to come to these shaded regions? Does light affect bees coming to these areas? So what kind of results did we end up with at the end of last summer? Well, we ended up with bees, as you can see. So in the second picture, you can see me in the background, and I'm actually implementing mulch into the design, and you can see, if you can, a tiny little bee on that echinacea plant. And so right as soon as we were planting, we were seeing bees, which was a huge positive. We were looking forward to that. They surprisingly do not have a preference to flowers, so they don't care whether or not the flower is native to Michigan or non-native. And they also prefer light. So a lot of the houses that we went to that were in shade, we didn't see as many bees, which was unfortunate. But now we know for next time, this summer, we'll be implementing gardens, trying to get more in the sun if we can. And also, this wasn't the only result we saw, and this one I feel like is really important, is we made huge connections on the east side of Flint. We made a lot of friends a huge neighborhood involvement and happy neighbors that ended up passing on the word, saying that this was life-changing for them. And it was life-changing for me to be able to impact somebody in that way, even though it might be something as little as helping somebody water their flowers or planting something. It made a difference in my life and made me feel like what I'm doing really makes a difference, and this is important. And even in this house on the right-hand side, it was side-by-side family members, and they passed on the word, and the people across the street, the tenants across the street were like, hey, I want to get involved, this is awesome. And so we had a lot of volunteers that way, and even some people requested if they could help out in this left-hand picture you can see, as well as, oops, let me go back. We also, across the, I believe in the street next door, we had a neighbor who, he was doing greenhouses. He was implementing huge greenhouses next to his house, and we started gardening at his house, and then the people across the street asked us, hey, what are you doing? And so we implemented there. So it's just this huge chain reaction. As Dr. Tonietto said, they're reaching out to over 100 all across Flint now. It's not just on the east side. So to me, this is really important. We're making a difference in the community, and not just the bee community, but also the human community as well. So what's next? We're going to be starting on our new project this summer, adding on to the existing one, adding 10 more houses. We're going to go back to those original 20, and we're going to take observations. We're going to see if the bee population actually did increase, so that's good. And we're also going to be planting more flowers, trying to get as many as we can in. We're going to still continue to give out the native and non-native treatments, since it doesn't matter to the bee population. So we still want to give that opportunity to the residents to be able to make that decision for them, so that they can customize their home a little bit. So that's really all I have to say. I just want to thank the research committee for putting this on and for all their hard work. Thank you all for coming, and thank you, Dr. Tonietto, for giving me a chance and believing in me.